we don't represent just one thing. So if you all could give me 1 second, please. This is for my son, Jacob Blake. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Maliki Yawmiddin. Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in. Ihdina siratal mustaqim. Siratal ladina an'amta alayhim. Ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. I'd like to thank everyone for coming out in support of my son with this senseless attempted murder that was committed on him. They shot my son 7 times. 7 times.
Truly, at least some of these men going out and getting 10 other women pregnant and having small children. Let's put them away. At some point, we have to stop being politically correct. And I don't care what race, I don't care how old they are. If there's a threshold that they cross, these people have to be warehoused. No recreational time in the jail. We put them away.
There was also looting and vandalising. Police responded to the protesters with tear gas, and there was a heavy presence of the National Guard on the street. As for the 29-year-old Jacob Blake, he remains in hospital in a critical condition. We've just learned from his family today that he is now paralysed from the waist down. Doctors don't yet know if that will be permanent. But as you mentioned, yes, authorities on the ground there are preparing for more chaos tonight. At the moment, the protests have been largely contained to Wisconsin, but there are some smaller demonstrations sparking in other US cities. Here in the capital, DC, we are hearing that there will be some protests.
What's up, y'all? It's Super Mike. What's going on? What's up with the black family? Jacob Blake, rioting, and you can't really mention just one name anymore because we are at war. So the enemy wants to kill us. So we just got shot in the back. I just got shot in the back. You just got shot in the back. Your brother just got shot in the back. Your cousin just got shot in the back. They killed us with Ahmaud Arbery, called us nigger. They choked us out. Well, actually, they stopped blood from going to our head with George Floyd. They murdered us with a gentrifying plot with Breonna Taylor and Sandra Bland, Mike Brown, just countless others. Trayvon Martin. So black people, if the same thing keeps happening, we gotta start asking ourselves some different questions. Now, if you look at the 60s, when the two peoples, black and white, the two peoples, black and white, are the ones that have the historical score to settle. We are destined to settle the score. The two peoples, black and white, if the score is not settled, then this warfare will go on forever. We are literally in war, and this is what it is. Okay, just because you've lived in war, you've never understood how true peace was. You've never understood how to be a first-class citizen in any nation. So that's what we're dealing with. So as we're dealing with it, we're all trying to find solutions. There's not one single solution. There's a set of solutions. And you have to keep doing the solutions full time. The more people do the solutions, it's a set of behaviors. The solutions are a set of behaviors. There are specific behaviors that enough people must engage in order to solve this level of a problem. That's what we're dealing with. We're dealing with we're dealing with a problem that is not quick and fast in a hurry kind of thing. We're dealing with a relay race situation, as we seen in the 60s. So right now we're getting to a point where the problem is so unbearable to the two peoples that what's going to end up happening is going to force a change. Large groups of people don't change unless they're uncomfortable. You can't get us to change unless they're uncomfortable. Like, why would you move out of your apartment? Why would you move out of your house and you're able to pay your bills, even though it might be a little hard? You got a leaky faucet, and the neighbor may call you nigga every now and then, but at least you can pay your bill. You go into work, it's barely enough, but as long as you keep the little roaches at bay, you can eke it out, you can make it happen because you're comfortable. And the comfortable situation does not create change. Now, we have a massive problem. You're not going to change it just because you individually know the answer. You might know the answer, but you have to have the proper conditions that create the need and push the people into the certain set of solutions. So the point is, the type of mindset that we have to have is dominance. We got to stop having the mindset of equality. Now, I looked at the funeral of, it wasn't a funeral. This was a press conference because the brother miraculously, and by the grace of the supreme being, God, he survived. That's purposeful, and I believe that is purpose. But that press conference with Benjamin Crump, literally, if I personally get killed, and let's say it was a situation like that, y'all, I don't want that dude nowhere around what we doing. I don't want it nowhere around us. Because, the bottom line is, the set of solutions, his job is to stop those. His job is to short circuit the process of us solving this problem. Sorry to say that solving a problem of violence, it takes violence to stop violence. It takes violence to stop violence. this type of violence. Police officers, they just hate you. There's nothing you can do about that. They really hate you. They want you dead. Look at Blake. Look at George Floyd. Sandra Bland. These people, they hate you. They want to kill you. You know, they want to kill you. Just like the dude in, I forgot the brother's name that was murdered in Atlanta. It's fun for them. They like to kill black people. And they get union protection for doing that. So I'm just saying, we need to understand these certain set of things. Now, back in the 60s, the two people had reached a point where riots were going on. Dr. King had been killed. You know, the people were black folks were tearing shit up. A physical response to physical violence. That is a response. That is a response that changes behavior. And that's where we're headed to. But what happened here, what they do is they float this idea of we're all human, we're now brothers, and maybe we could change the world and let's get along, because now I understand what y'all been trying to say for hundreds of years, that we are all brothers. Okay? And so we're moving to that point. And unfortunately, you can't do the answer until you get there. It's just like in a game. Before you can win the game, you got to fight the hardest point of the game. You have to defeat the enemy. It's very tough. It's very hard, usually. And it's just like anything else. The game is depicting life. There's a certain set of behaviors that you got to do as a group. And if you don't want to be on a group level, it ain't going to work. And so this is what I'm saying. The physical violence that Black America is suffering, number one, we're suffering it this hard is because we have the individualistic mindset that has been taught to us. But if we notice, back then, when one guy died, when Emmett Till died, there was a physical response. When black folks were, Black Panthers, there were riots, shit got torn up, 4 girls are killed. Black folks was fighting. Even preachers, the type of preachers that we had, a lot of us at that time. They wasn't the type of punk ass preachers that we have today, talking about love everybody preachers. All that was changed because white people, they have control of the legal system and they manipulate it, and they're literally social scientists. So they can change in that religion, Christianity, the type of Christianity that they taught us. And what I'm saying, and when I'm not talking about just being a Christian, period, because Christianity is the follower of Christ, which is very good in my book. But the type of Christianity that Black Americans were taught, and that white people love to spread around, indigenous peoples of the planet, it's a slave Bible type Christianity. It's not the same kind of, it's not their thinking. White Christians, they have swords. To themselves, they promote the battle, the crusading type of Christian, the KKK Christian. That's them. But for us, they promote this love everybody, slave, obey your master type Christianity. No. And that's what we seen a stark difference when we looked at if you look at the Jacob Blake's press conference, his mother, Julia Jackson, and then Jacob Blake Sr. is a Muslim. he came out, A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim, Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim, Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen, Ar-Rahmanir Rahim, Malik Yawmiddin, Iyyaka na'budu wa iyyaka nasta'in, Ihdina as-sirata mustaqim, sirata alladhina an'amta alayhim, ghayril maghdubi alayhim waladdallin. And he came out with the Muslim prayer. That scared the hell out of them, probably. And then Benjamin Crump came in with the mama, you know, with the Christian thing, talking about we're all humans and stop tearing up this stuff. She was so concerned. It was just amazing. Like, she was so concerned about the response. See, the enemy is not going to respond. He's not going to give the police officer a response physically. So the people have to give the enemy a response, a physical response. That starts off with the riots, or it starts off with the uprisings, the physical damaging of inanimate objects. You know, this is a warning, basically. It's basically a warning. The people are getting prepared. They're sick and tired of, and this, like the preacher Reverend Clegg said, there is a battle for power between the black and the white group in this society. Y'all ignoring it does not solve that problem. Ignoring it does not solve that problem. There's ways to solve that problem without bloodshed, but it's not going to really happen because, you know, the people who have power, they don't understand why should they give it up to y'all, because y'all running around here talking about love everybody and we're all humans. Can't you understand? You got to realize, from the white perspective, they don't want to turn black. They don't want to mix with you. The only way you can be equal is if you literally mix blood, because you think differently. You have a different perspective of justice. You have a different perspective on how to run a society. You have completely different perspective. So you're going to argue all the time. Big arguments. I'm not talking about just regular debate. I'm talking about major bloodshed type arguments. So they can't allow, this is how they're thinking. They cannot allow too many of y'all to hold power. Because if black folks were able to seriously challenge white authority on power, on issues, they would, this whole country would be totally different. Of these riots, and when I call them uprising, we were sick of their shit, we're getting pretty sick of their shit again. Any group of people will do this, y'all. And we don't have the guns like they do. Now, at that time, they didn't have the guns that they do right now. And we see that they knew that they wanted to, because they are not going to work with you. They are not going to set it up they know why you're mad. They know why you're mad. They know the bottom line and the issues of why you're mad. That's the plan. They want you dead. But the problem is, their problem is they don't know how to kill all of you without the kind of response that's overwhelming to them. They can't handle that. You can't, I mean, we got like 45 to 60 million people who are identified as black. And the more that you physically just overtly murder us, which is what they try to do. So back in the 60s, they didn't have the material, they didn't have the army, they didn't have the police armed up, they didn't have the police trained, they didn't have it. So they had to acquiesce to Martin Luther King and the civil rights movement, because Malcolm X and Honorable Elijah Muhammad was telling them separation is the solution give us our spot, you can have your spot, and then we can develop, and we'll have peace, because we won't be dissatisfied. We will have our spot, and y'all have y'all spot, and then if those who want to live together and stuff like that, there'll be areas for everybody, to be in America. We're all still Americans, we're still here, but we won't be in a situation where we don't have nowhere to go, and we're being persecuted on every front, no matter what city we in, no matter what space we in. Our resources are being restricted. I can control you if I can control your resources. If I control your resources, I have control over you. I don't have to make every single decision that you're supposed to make, but I can restrict your resources, and then that'll depress your conditions. And then I already know what that leads you to do. They know why we mad. So at that time, they gave us civil rights. They gave us affirmative action. They pacified us. But at the same time, they began preparing themselves to be able to kill us. They tried with heroin. In the 70s, they started flooding our communities with drugs, sex, these type of degenerative. If you look at the 60s, it was black power stuff. In the 70s, you start seeing the type of culture changes. It was drugs. In the 80s, that's when crack came out, in which they literally invented crack in the 70s, but they didn't release it until the 80s. Reagan said war on drugs in 82. That was before the crack came out. War on drugs was going down. If you look at the statistics, look at the papers. So the point is, that was at the 60s. If you listen to the cops, the mindset of the police unions, the police associations, they were not trying to work with you. They wanted you dead. They need that. Their answer is more weaponry, more poisons, destabilize them, keep them. We cannot allow them to get power. If they get power, we're from the white people's perspective, you're dead. So all your coons, you're only as useful as you are to keep us, our people, to defend the enemy and to confuse our group of people. If the people that you coons are helping, which is the white supremacists, if you were to help, and the thing is, you got to realize, the white supremacist is the one that's in control. They will send the good white people where, and I'm not saying that all white people are a white supremacist mindset, but if you don't have that kind of mindset, they're not going to put that kind of white person in no big, strong spots. You're going to be usually a low-level operative because they've peeped out the mindset of even the white people that, you're not white nationalist enough, so we're not going to put you in the boss spot, but you can work in the office. You see what I'm saying? So, just black folks, we got to understand the solution is separation. Now, when this phase goes around, Kenosha, they're tearing shit up, which is good. That's good for our purposes. I know it don't seem like it's good to a lot of y'all because y'all don't understand where we have to be, where they have to be. Y'all don't understand the mindset and the situation where we have to be as two groups that have a problem. Both of us have to be uncomfortable in order to get a solution. Just like in the 60s. Those black folks was been uncomfortable. You know, we've been uncomfortable since, you know, we stay uncomfortable. But in the 60s, during the riots, 100 cities, we start tearing their shit up.
Permit police brutality to go on.
Reverend Clegg.
City in America.
Reverend
now,
Clegg.
We had in almost 100 cities race violence last summer. If police brutality continues, we'll have it in 200 cities next summer. Now, white people know that. Something has got to be done about it. We are wasting time. We are waiting. Let's come to the issue.
I can't seem to get Reverend Clegg's ear, and without seeming to
That made white people very uncomfortable and afraid. That made them afraid and uncomfortable. So uncomfortable, they had to negotiate. If you look at Lyndon B. Johnson, when he had to look at Martin Luther King sitting right in front of him in the White House at that time, he just looked so sad, like, God damn, I got to sit here and negotiate with a fucking nigga. Lyndon Johnson was depressed. He was forced to negotiate with King. Because King at that time wasn't really the one pushing the real solution. So he was lucky to have somebody like that, and he should have just gave Martin Luther King the money, but he didn't. He tricked Martin Luther King because Martin Luther King at that time didn't understand what the real solution was. And Malcolm X and them was out there saying the real solution, and they damn sure was like, we're not going to deal with Malcolm X, H. Rap Brown, and Stokely Carmichael. We damn sure ain't dealing with them, because those people were talking the real solution. And this solution is going to really help everybody, but the point is, they couldn't afford that. You got to realize white supremacy, these people are very lazy. They have to have a permanent underclass so that they can suck off of. They are like vampiric. They don't want to work. And so what happens is, when we, black people, stop being that permanent underclass, then they have to go back to their peasantry and their Irish, their Italians, their, other white people have to be the permanent underclass, which means that they're going to start fighting each other again, and they don't want that. Because the upper echelons of the white supremacists, I mean, they're so lazy, they will not work for themselves. That's how they run society. They don't do it right. They don't do it right.
Department, to not the city of Milwaukee, because we all know what to expect when it comes to this city. We've seen it time and time before Donald Trump. We've seen injustice. We know what injustice looks like. We've seen a department, the DOJ, we've seen them not do anything. They hide the truth of this country in the blood of all of us. So I say to my community, especially to the brown, to the black community, hold your children, hide your children, because this nation of law enforcement does not care about your brown and black children. They will gun down your children. They will cover up that it was not murder, that it was not homicide, that it was not intentional. What we have seen is a complete display of an intentional homicide, an intentional murder.
So sad. What stands out to me is just watching the Republican convention, and they're spewing this fear, right? Like, all you hear is Donald Trump and all of them talking about fear. We're the ones getting killed. We're the ones getting shot. We're the ones that we're denied to live in certain communities. We've been hung, we've been shot, and all you do is keep hearing about fear. It's amazing to me why we keep loving this country, and this country does not love us back.